Hello, my dear friends. This is Blagomir, and I am happy to welcome you to my Vedic channel. Today, I want to shed light on one of the most important events that will extend its influence over the next 2.5 years in our lives, and it concerns the transit of the Lord of Karma, Justice, and Time, Saturn, through the sign of Pisces. On March 29th, this fundamental astrological and astronomical event will take place. The fact is that Saturn is changing signs from Aquarius to Pisces. What does this mean for us? Watch this message until the end. I will give recommendations for each sign and for each of you, so that you, by analyzing your natal chart, by the position of Saturn in it, you can precisely understand what to do during this transit and what awaits business, investments, and so on. Therefore, in this message, I will examine as comprehensively as possible all topics related to Saturn's influence on our social, internal, personal life, and so on. Well, my dear and precious listeners, the fact is that we have lived through the last 2.5 years under the rule of Saturn in Aquarius, a strict, disciplined, tough, but, as the wise say, fair teacher. Saturn in Aquarius taught us rules, structure, boundaries. He shattered merciless illusions, forcing us to see reality as it truly is. He tested us for resilience, maturity, and readiness to live by the laws of reason and divine reality. And now, the great teacher to whom we bow with humility and respect, the great teacher changes the sign. He moves from a certain logic, structure, seemingly, into chaos. But is it really so? And from clear, understandable laws to our reason, our consciousness, he transitions into the murky entrances of the subconscious, the unconscious, associated with Pisces. What does this mean for us, my dear friends? Pisces is water. It is the element of water. It is dreams. It is the sign of spirituality and, of course, faith. And faith is to know the light, the higher light within oneself. Therefore, those who try to manipulate the concept of faith and push certain concepts into our consciousness, saying, believe in this or that, these are just matrix negative programs. True faith is always connected with the direct experience of the higher light within oneself. That is, true faith is always alive, and it does not come from the mind or a concept like I believe in this or that, but from a pure state of knowing the higher light, a state of experiencing God right here and now. This is what distinguishes the great holy elders, the sages, who sincerely believed in God and acquired the grace of the Holy Spirit. Unlike those lay people or fools who simply read the scriptures, in their minds, they shuffle concepts, shuffle words, and try to confuse everyone else. One must not know, one must not ponder, but one must be this, be it in one's essence. And if we open the scriptures, we are luminous, eternal souls, higher spiritual beings. But due to the distortions of our consciousness, we very much forget about this. Therefore, our task for the next 2.5 years is related to awakening or kindling the fire and flame of true faith as a direct contact with God within ourselves. This contact cannot be given to us by anyone, neither a priest nor a theologian. This contact, these relationships, can only be established by us. This is an important realization that I want to grow within you. Next, Saturn is the planet of limitations, the planet of harsh truth. It is the direct ruler of karma, time, and higher justice. And now Pisces and Saturn meet together. What does this mean? First, false spiritual teachings, all manipulations of mass consciousness will be ruthlessly destroyed. The world will demand conscious faith from people, not blind. Religiosity and idolatry. Those who ran away from illusions and tried to hide somewhere in some sheltered conditions will face the harshest truth, and it will be necessary to pass the lessons from which people were running away. Some will have to admit that salvation will not come from outside, and no one will take care of you except yourself. Therefore, Saturn in Pisces will make all of us choose to remain in illusions, dreams, fantasies, or to see and accept reality. To be a victim or to take responsibility for your life and start changing it. To run away from pain or to accept this pain. To live through it and free yourself from it, thanking it for the valuable lessons. These are such interesting and important realizations, my precious ones. Now, we must understand that Saturn never comes empty-handed. Never. And it brings in its hands gifts in the form of testing the strength of our thought patterns, in the form of sobering us from all sorts of imagined illusions, in the form of destruction, of everything that was built on self-deception, on false, cowardly attempts to make a deal with one's conscience. And supposedly, well, what's the big deal? You deceived, right? No one will notice. Someone stole a little here, a little there. All of this will be turned to dust, burned by the Lord of Karma. Deep cleansing through suffering and awareness awaits humanity, especially all those who ignored their spiritual development and embraced Western values related to the enrichment of spirit, attachment to material things, greed, avarice, and manipulation, mass consciousness in social networks, projects. Supposedly, well, what's the big deal? The main thing is to make money, right? What about the people? Are they just puppets? The one who is stronger is right. All of this will be burned, turned to ashes and dust. If we lied to ourselves, avoided the truth, built our lives on rotten values, all of this, Saturn will return to us, manifold. And many will be very disappointed if we developed ourselves, sought the truth, served people, sowed seeds of virtue and charity, purified our consciousness. The great Saturn will grant us a breakthrough in spiritual development. And most importantly, I want you to clearly understand and remember this well. Saturn does not ask whether we are ready or not. He simply begins his work. He comes and demands from us harshly, but fairly. I also want to draw your attention to the fact that Pisces is a sign of subtle vibrations. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac completing a 12-year cycle. This is also related to the fact that Pisces is associated with the 12th house, the house of moksha, if we consider the sidereal zodiac. And I am structuring my lecture and message according to Vedic astrology, Jyotish, which means the path to the gates, liberation from the world of samsara is associated with the constellation of Pisces, a sign of deep spirituality. Thus, here there are no material ambitions, no struggle for power, no logic. There is a pure dissolution into what exists in the highest reality called the Absolute. And it will be, of course, unusual for many to observe the scene, as if forcibly against their will, as if their material component, including that built on illusions, will begin to dissolve. But there is experience and souls before coming to earth accept a certain program, make a choice, what lessons they need to go through. Therefore, go through this consciously, not from the position of your limited mind, but from the perspective of the breadth and scale of your infinite soul. And then you will understand what benefit and what task truly lies before you. Next, here, also associated with Pisces, is the theme of mysticism, karma, mystery, and of course, the collective unconscious. Everything that humanity has created in the collective unconscious over all these long years. And I remind you that the Saturn cycle, it stays in each sign for almost 30 years. And now imagine that the great judge, Saturn, is completing its 29-year cycle. Cycle, almost a 30-year cycle, passing through Pisces. That is, in the coming years, we are expecting the completion of Saturn's 30-year cycle. This is a very important, serious event, because Saturn will be summing up not only for each of us, but for all of humanity, for the entire Earth. What you sow, so shall you reap. Therefore, it is very important for us to focus our attention on discipline, on spiritual practice, on meditations, and on creating good for the earth, for humanity, for all living beings, each at their own level, as much as they can. Some share knowledge, some feed the hungry, some dig wells in places where there is no water, and help people not to die from thirst and drought, and so on, each in their own place. A great creator and benefactor can be if they wish. Now the question, what awaits the world? What awaits the world? And the first thing I will start with is, of course, the collective unconscious. It will come to the forefront here. And we are in for a mass spiritual awakening, the emergence of new spiritual meanings on the scale of the entire human civilization. But also, due to the fact that this will be a restructuring, a demolition of the old, and making space for the new, we are in for chaos, a powerful disinformation in social networks, meaning there will be attempts at disinformation, manipulation, also of consciousness, because the old programs will cling on. They will say, let's have more of us. Pump it up, yes, we don't want to leave. But there will also be a struggle for truth, meaning a full transformation of human consciousness. Secondly, it's the end of illusions in world politics and economics. All fake leaders will lose their influence. The consumer economy will start to falter. And the first signs, remember my words. In some sense, they may be prophetic. This will affect the Federal Reserve System of the United States of America. There are already calls to cut off the head or break the backbone of this long-standing parasitic system that preys on the body of humanity. Next, no people will seek more so, not material, but spiritual goods and spiritual support. Therefore, there will be an increased need for spiritual mentors, contact with true values and knowledge. And so, what will grow? Correct, the spread of Vedic knowledge in the world, true Vedic knowledge. Next, medicine, pharmaceuticals, psychology will face a karmic challenge. On a global scale, we will all be asking questions about what heals and what harms. Most people will no longer want to simply poison their bodies with some unknown pills, but will want to understand the causes of diseases, which, in fact, I have already started this work, doing it on the Telegram channel when I analyze all your illnesses, which you write about using your own neopsy method. And I provide you with affirmation practices. That is, I help you understand the causes of each illness. You can visit and read. Next, what is truth and what is business? The next question that people will be asking. Where is the truth and where are they? Just trying to take our money. Next is a new discovery and also new great revelations, false gurus, false teachers, false mentors, false politicians, and so on. Saturn will make us verify everything for authenticity and truthfulness. And of course, he will bring order to the world of the spiritual, mystical, and hidden. That is, all these manipulations that were, like hidden and covered up, right? People didn't see or understand. The same, for example, technologies for brainwashing the mass consciousness, which for many years were implemented by the dark priesthood on a planetary scale. Earth by infernal, let's say hierarchs, servants of the infernal worlds. All of this will begin to be exposed. And why? Because the time of light is approaching with each day, vibrations are increasing. Let's say waves of soul awakening, and people are awakening, or waking up from their slumber, ignorance. Further, personal transformations, what awaits each of us? But first I want to say right away, the period will not be gentle. Saturn is not about comfort, it's about lessons that cannot be ignored. And what will we face? Unresolved emotional trauma. All psychological traumas will surface. Everything you were running from, everything you tried to drown out with alcohol, cigarettes, interactions with low vibration people to switch, their attention, throw in some dopamine, any problem. All of this will come to the surface. Therefore, I'm telling you right away that in our International Neopsy Academy, a special course has been created to teach the Neopsion method for working, specifically a method for working with the subconscious, where you can remove your fears, resentments, negative programs using a modern scientific approach, and those Vedic knowledge and practices that I have incorporated into this method. That is a very integral, very powerful method. Just a few weeks ago, a couple of scientific articles were published. Therefore, all the information is available on our Telegram channel. Join, learn, and gain knowledge to heal all your emotional traumas and step into the light. Moving on. If we have been running from our shadows, we will have to face them. If we lived in illusions, those illusions will be blown away like autumn wind. It blows leaves off the trees. Therefore, Pisces is about feelings. Pisces is about the subconscious. Pisces is about spirituality and mysticism. And Saturn is about structure and order. So, what does this mean? I declare that this is a time, 2.5 years, when each of us will have to bring order to our own soul. Don't believe me? Watch and see. As they say, let time tell. And since time is one of the forms of Saturn's energy influence, I think it's pointless to argue here. Now, the next my question. Who is ready? Who is ready for this at all? What will happen to humanity? Not everyone will go through this transition, I'll say right away. All those who are afraid to look deep within themselves will suffer greatly. Suffer greatly. Those who are ready for awareness will gain new visions. Why? Because it simply won't be any other way. The old world is irreversibly changing. It is collapsing somewhere, transforming somewhere. Why? Because Saturn demands maturity. If you are ready for the truth, the real truth, you will endure. If you are ready for transformation, you will emerge renewed. If you are ready to take responsibility, you will become free to some extent. And if a person is not ready, it can lead to illnesses, losses, disappointments, and so on. So what needs to be done? First, do not run away from yourself. Deal with your fears, traumas, shadows. Second, check. Before engaging in spiritual practice, check. All courses, all programs, spiritual ones you are planning to work with for authenticity. Where is the truth and where is the business? Next, learn to live without illusions. Do not wait for a savior, but be the creator of your reality, your life. Therefore, this period will not break the strong. It will purify. For those who are very good in practice, it will help them delve even deeper. Advance in spiritual practice. Why? Because Saturn, many think, punishes. It's not about punishment, it's about maturation, conscious maturation. And if we go through this, we will emerge from these like fish, constellations of fish, completely different, renewed, wise, conscious, genuine. And this is the key meaning, the key narrative that I send into this world and instill in your souls, in your consciousness. So, what else do we need to understand? What karmic themes will emerge? Well, I mentioned yes about the shattering of illusions, but here I want to immediately say what are the illusions related to? Well, first, illusions of love, illusions of spirituality, illusions of money, ideals. Everything we believed in without evidence, simply, yes, just believed, will also be tested for truth. Masks will fall, everything hidden will become apparent. Many will also face the trial of loneliness. Therefore, it's best to go on a Vipassana retreat by yourself. By the way, we have a retreat starting on April 21st in Bali. A 10-day Dharma retreat where I will be giving initiations into sacred scripture. We will talk about Dharma, work on our purpose in this world, practice yoga, and bathe in the sacred springs here. It's very rich and powerful. A transformational program. Therefore, the information is also in the video description. For those interested, feel free to check it out. Accordingly, some people's freedom will be limited, because Saturn will not allow people to hide in fantasies, alcohol, or addictions. People will be forced to face reality. As I already mentioned, yes. And for those who resist this process, freedom may be forcibly restricted. Some might end up in prison. Some might linger in a hospital. There will be processes related to illnesses and healing. In other words, the soul will heal and consciousness will transform through illnesses because, for example, a person doesn't understand any other way. Therefore, they will lie there and think, why did this happen to me? What did I do to deserve this? Such things happen, and so on. Therefore, to avoid this, try to do better. As the classic said, better, I'll do it myself. All right, I understand, I'll do it myself. I don't need illnesses. I'll slowly start reading prayers, becoming aware, and so on. So, now let's figure out how before I give recommendations. For each of you, for each natal chart, depending on which house Saturn is in for you and what awaits you, I also want to give you a forecast on the topic of business, how business will change during this transit. That is, what awaits business in the next 2.5 years, when Saturn will be transiting through Pisces. Well, the first and most fundamental, the world will no longer be as we knew it before. Second, those who built castles in the air, including in business, yes, will see them crumble. Those who live by intuition will gain even more strength. Those who were afraid to change will face the inevitability of change. And here is the most important question. Will business enter this new era? Business projects, business systems? Or will it all burn to ashes and we will live in a spiritual world? Well, right away, the most fundamental. If a business was based on deceit, if it operated on hidden schemes, shadow deals, the end of that business is near. In other words, businesses that have the ability, as it's called in biology, to mimicry will survive. That is adaptation. These are the companies, the corporations that will start to adapt, that will begin to incorporate spiritual laws, spiritual values into their business models and strategies. Those that do not change will start to lose their positions. Next, financial crises in the next 2.5 years will be much deeper. So what I want to tell you right away, my dear ones, if you are involved in the field of investors, well, you are participating. As an investor, investments in old models based solely on greed, avarice, and the desire to have more money will stop working. That is, if you want success, if you want a real increase in your wealth, you must invest funds, money in those projects that will work for the benefit of humanity. That is, will work to increase the flow of spiritual truths, values, and so on. Therefore, we have also developed with the team such a plan to attract investors to develop and scale the project. This is exactly what Wisdom Vet, the transmission of wisdom, creating a large website. Then we also have books that are already written. We are also waiting for investors to reproduce these books, launch them into the world, translate them into other languages, so that Vedic knowledge spreads around the world with even greater force. Therefore, if you are interested in such investment strategies, you can write to us on Telegram, get in touch with us, and we will discuss these matters. And also accordingly, the next important point is that everything, Bhakpo, related to the elements of water will gain value. That is emotions, psychology, spirituality, wisdom, and so on. Therefore, true spiritual practices retreat, centers, various retreat programs. The transmission, for example, of some true knowledge on managing emotions, and so on. All of this will grow and will be heavily monetized and developed because there is a great need for this on a global scale. Saturn will hint at this and incline us towards it. Therefore, if you listen and understand, yes, and take these words seriously, you will greatly benefit. Now, regarding big business, here too, not everyone will survive. The global banking sector will experience a severe crisis. Companies that operated on loans and debts will also start facing crises. Yes, all these speculations, all this topic about making money on other people's debts, on interest. All this rot will be eradicated. Moving on, traditional corporations that ignore future trends will also start losing capital. That is, everything that is not according to God, everything that is not according to the higher law, everything based on deceit, on manipulation, all of this will start to collapse. And you will see this with your own eyes in the coming years. The winners will be those who delve into technology. They will continue to develop technologies, but humane technologies that will promote the idea of not suppressing human nature, but developing it. That is, developing consciousness using technology, rather than enslaving consciousness with technology. This is a very important point. Also the topic of ecology, bioengineering, and systems for comprehensive consciousness development will advance well on a large business scale. Next, investments in cryptocurrency, psychotechnologies, yes, psi technologies, will also yield very long-term results. But again, we see that gradually the cryptocurrency market is gaining very serious momentum. Yes, it is already becoming obvious. No one even argues here. Therefore, many states will also begin to transfer part of their assets, the so-called gold and foreign exchange reserves, into the crypto market, the cryptocurrency market. And from here, when such flows on the scale of states begin to enter, we will see growth. Therefore, investments in major cryptocurrencies, such as Bitcoin and so on, will also be relevant. If you're interested in finding out which specific projects are most favorable for investments, yes, if we are talking about the cryptocurrency market, you can also write in our Telegram channel and sign up for a consultation, because we have already prepared certain analyses, so-called cases, yes, in order to develop strategies for the next 2.5 years related to cryptocurrency to approve and accordingly direct wealth to increase wealth in this direction further. So the next important point related to big business and with the economy. On a planetary scale, it will be as follows. Capital will no longer be equal to power, that is power. State power and so on will not guarantee cow and capital. power will shift to those who make decisions once again. I repeat, this is an important point to remember. Power will shift to those who accept the divine will and the laws of working with the energies of love and kindness. In the context of collective consciousness, this is very important. We are returning to the physical vision that the Aryans had in ancient times, when the king was the primary guarantor of upholding the divine will on earth and in his kingdom. That is, he was the foremost protector of Dharma, and an example of true Vedic values, divine values, adherence to these values, and an example of supreme virtue, the ruler. Do you understand? And when the subjects looked at him, they were first of all inspired and understood that this person was not there by chance, but as it was in our Russian Empire once, the anointed of God. The anointed of God, meaning the representative of God on earth, the protector of the people, the leader of the nation, the one who leads, but not because he is cool or has stolen millions, but because he is filled with powerful virtue. He cares about the fate of the entire kingdom, worries, and does everything possible so that people live in goodness, are protected, and so on. These are the values that will now come to the forefront. Next, the medium-sized business. Those who are stuck in the schemes of the 2010s, let me tell you right away, guys, you will be left behind. Harsh strategies will stop working. The time of total diplomacy and flexibility is coming. Business without a mission. Business without a mission and only with the desire to make money off people will lose clients. Emotions and values come to the forefront. What values does your business have? What is the mission? Why are you even doing this? Yes, well, just selling sausages here. All of this will burn away like ashes. Therefore, sincerity, honesty, and adaptability come forward. Furthermore, the demand for esotericism will grow significantly. Psycho practices, alternative medicine, conscious consumption. Therefore, for those who are also interested in the topic of development in medium-sized businesses, where to direct if you have a business, how to restructure it, how to organize it for new transit tasks. Saturn, you can also sign up for a consultation and gain such knowledge. Next, those who can connect the spiritual and the material will win. Balancing and harmonizing. Therefore, see, it no longer matters what you sell. And most importantly, what will come to the forefront is what you create for people, nature, and the planet. No one will care about what you're trying to push or what you're trying to sell in pairs. Let's face it, this no longer has any significance at all. And what will be important is what your mission is, what you create for people, for the planet, for nature. That's what's made important and most crucial. Small businesses, this will be the time for new leaders in the next 2.5 years. All standard stores, salons, establishments without a concept, without values, based on spirit, will start to decline. People will stop buying just because of dumb marketing ads. Trust will decide everything. Trust in the brand, trust in people, trust in the team, trust in the company. Therefore, divine unbreakable values and the brand's philosophy will be the primary factors determining its fate and material well-being. Small entrepreneurs who do not adapt to new conditions will what? Lose a lot. Many will close down. Therefore, new niches in small business will also open up. Write it down, as they say, take a pen, see, and write it down. Remember it well. First, energy practices. Second, conscious products, spiritual centers. Cities of the future will begin to be built, such as ecological settlements. Also a good topic for developers, for those involved in construction. Green cities of the new generation. These are new niches that will develop very well. Next, personal local brands will gain value. That is, we are moving away from corporate influence, where millions of people, for example, worship Tesla or someone else. We are transitioning to the value and growth of local brands. That is, trust in small communities will be valued more than large corporations. You understand? Such micro-families of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, rather than those million-strong audiences. The key to success for small businesses, or rather small enterprises, over the next 2.5 years will lie in honesty. In genuine kindness towards the world, people, altruism, and active engagement that comes not from a desire to rake in money, but from a heartfelt desire to show love and kindness to people and the world, to truly help from the heart. You see, here's the thing. Therefore, all these pathetic manipulators who only think about greed and avarice, they will be burned out. Everyone will face crises, big ones. That is, there is a demand for people to open their hearts. And when a stream of love flows from the heart, it is immediately felt, it is immediately noticeable. This is love, light. Therefore, people will invest and direct their energy, money, and attention to those whose hearts are open. This is always reflected in business. Because if the business owner is in a state of grace, with an open heart, then the business also adopts this vibration, it is noticeable. If the owner thinks only about themselves, about their selfish interests, only about how to make money, accordingly, people also feel this in their attitude. The attitude of the team, the attitude of the employees. Well, just like that. You come, for example, to buy something and you ask, and they look at you with such arrogance, as if you should bow to them for having what you need, like you should bow to them. Is there such a thing? That's why we are facing a total transformation. You will all see this. All of this will happen, you see. Next, the money, it will flow there. And the cash flows too. Mark my words. Write it down with a red marker in all your notebooks. Where will the sacred higher meaning be? Not invented, but the truth. That is, the cash flows will be directed towards the source of the higher sacred meaning, whether this source is conveyed through people or through business, and so on. Not this info business, yes, the illusion like supposedly some girl name, a blogger, 25 years old. She has read a lot. That is some, or how to say it correctly, watched reels about spirituality. Yes, and now she is a spiritual coach, a master. That is, well, she tries to put on this mask, but it will be immediately noticeable. It is felt, and everything that is about seeming rather than being, it will be. Apparently, the energy will not go there. That is, it will go to those projects, to those people who, with their lives, fully emphasize and convey everything they preach about. And of course, this is connected with the higher sacred meaning. The theme of love, the theme of kindness, mercy, altruism. And this sincere care for people, the world, and nature. Therefore, if your business lacks a soul, lacks a mission, this business will collapse, it will close, it will have no future. What awaits people? What awaits people? Well, the world will become harsher. Those who lived in rosy dreams will face harsh reality. I have spoken about this. Mass emotional crisis, psychosis. People will lose their old points of reference. Outdated spiritual traditions will collapse. Many religions will begin to undergo a harsh transformation. The same goes for the Catholic Church, Christianity. That is, people already, you see, people are not stupid, they already see, they are not falling for this propaganda, yes. Where these priests in Mercedes cars are going crazy from fat, yes, and these candles are sold at exorbitant prices in the churches. People are no longer falling for this. They already understand that it's all vanity, that it's all deception, that it's all some kind of pretense, just exploitation. These rituals, ceremonies, yes, that are performed for money, not just out of kindness or a desire to help someone, but if you want a blessing, if you bought a car, an apartment, cleaned it, pay at the cash register. Why are you giving so little? Come on, give more. And so on. So all this rot starts to come out. Next. So, that the most Important thing for survival. If you are a businessman, move away from the old schemes of the past, adapt to the new trends. I mentioned, if you are an entrepreneur, develop a personal brand and don't be afraid to test. And develop new niches, which I also talked about. If you're employed, working for someone, look for a job that aligns with your values and mission. One that gives meaning and, most importantly, provides you with emotional satisfaction, not just money. These are teams where there is joy, support, warmth, and so on. If you are simply living, learn to work with energy, become aware of, and develop the potential of your consciousness. This is very important, meaning it is about a great transformation, a great cleansing. Yes, why? Because I already mentioned above that Saturn is in Pisces. This is the final test on the path to completing Saturn's 30-year cycle. And either we wake up, realize who we are, and restructure our lives, or we lose everything that has been built over the past 30 years on illusions, because illusions will no longer work. It is a time of total truth, purity, and depth. I already spoke in my lecture about the era of the wolf. The values of the new era, they are very different. Since 2012, the era of the wolf has begun. I recorded a large lecture for you on the channel about this. Take a look. For the next 16-20 years, we will be living in this era. The wolf of Veles, according to Slavic tradition, represents the true values of truth, mercy, purity, and kindness. All this deceit, this falsehood, the era of the fox of Marina has ended, indeed, you see. Therefore, it is important to adapt. I'm not trying to scare you, I am motivating you. I want you to wake up clearly, realize what needs to be done. Therefore, my dear ones, Saturn in Pisces is a wonderful opportunity for spiritual growth, development, and practice. For those who heed my words and listen to the voice of their intuition and heart. So, you have a choice. Either you enter this new world consciously, or you wait until the new world breaks you. As you know, the choice is yours. Now, as promised, I will move on to recommendations for all rising signs during the transit. Saturn in Pisces, which will occur from March 29, 2025 to June 3, 2027. So, the ascendant in Aries, Lagna. That means Saturn will be in the 12th house in Pisces for you. For you, the important themes are realizing past mistakes, working through karma, isolation, spiritual growth, trials through losses, solitude, limitation, and the necessity of inner discipline. Therefore, the recommendation is consciously engage in spiritual practices, work with the subconscious, participate in retreats, pilgrimages, avoid depression, do not fear loneliness. Practice karmic service, help the sick, the homeless, prisoners, strengthen your health, especially your psyche and immune system. Avoid unnecessary debts and hidden enemies. That means I forbid you, Aries, from taking loans. That's everything related to debts. For you, it will be very painful and traumatic if you take on debts. Next, Taurus in Rishabha Lagna. You will have Saturn in the 11th house. Here are important themes. This is the realization of ambitions. These are long-term goals, challenges for you, slow results, a strict selection of friends, and a rejection of illusions in the social environment. Therefore, the recommendations are as follows. Develop long-term projects, have patience in investments, stop expecting quick results, and learn to work towards a strategic perspective. Cleanse your environment of unreliable people. Practice gifts, donations to benevolent people, guides, for example, of true values, knowledge, charity. And strengthen discipline in affairs and thinking. Rising Gemini Mithuna Lagna. Saturn will be in your 10th house. The important theme is career, status, social realization. Therefore, challenges will come through high demands, the need to work to exhaustion, and tense relationships with superiors. Therefore, the recommendations are: work disciplined without haste, do not argue with superiors under any circumstances. Respect the system, hierarchy, authorities, and do not try to outsmart or bypass the system. Honesty in business, any manipulations will lead to tragedies for you. There may be job changes, yes, meaning the collapse of old earning schemes, so be prepared. Develop wise leadership and service to people through your career. Next, rising Cancers. This means Saturn will be in your ninth house. Important. Themes here are spirituality, education, worldview, trials through loss of faith, crisis of mentorship, disappointment in ideals. You may experience this. Therefore, the recommendations are as follows. Learn to accept life's lessons without pity and complaints. Go on a pilgrimage. Study Vedic scriptures, Shastras, Bhagavad Gita. Watch lectures by true teachers. Find yourself a guru, a true teacher, a mentor. You might have a long journey or emigration. Therefore, also, practice humility before fate, less complaining and more gratitude. Avoid fanaticism, seek balance. Rising Leos, Simha Lagna. You have Saturn will be in the 8th house. Important themes for you. Transformation of consciousness. Some secrets will surface. Inheritance, possibly, yes. The theme of inheritance, deep psychology, exploration of tantric knowledge is indicated. You will face trials through losses, crises, painful changes, themes of death and rebirth. My recommendations. Learn to let go of the old people's situations, beliefs. Avoid debts, manipulations, and also shady deals. Practice sadhana, spiritual practice. Immerse yourself in meditation. There may be unexpected expenses, financial problems, so be cautious. It is important to develop patience and acceptance. Rising Virgos. Rising Virgos. Saturn will be in your 7th house. Important themes: marriage, partnership, cooperation. Challenges through coldness in relationships. Through lack of sex or loss of interest in sex, possibly. Slow growth in business. The necessity of responsibility. Therefore, the recommendations are to work honestly on relationships. Do not fall into irresponsibility. There might be a breakup for some with insincere partners, those who deceived you or whom you deceived. Will marriage or business be considered for you? It is best only in the long term. Therefore, practice flexibility, respect for your partner. Learn to cooperate, rather than going your solitary way. Rising Libras, Tula Lagna. You have Saturn in the 6th house. Important themes are debts, illnesses, enemies, and service. Challenges will come through conflicts, stress, and chronic diseases. Therefore, recommendations. Avoid intrigues. Fulfill your duties honestly. Take care of your health. You should have discipline in diet and physical exercise. Do not get involved in courts and disputes. It is better to resolve everything through peace, peaceful agreements, diplomacy. Strengthen your psyche, engage in spiritual practices, especially take care of your health, practice karmic service, help the sick and poor animals. Yes, as the Guru once said, if you cannot help people, at least help animals. For the next ascending Scorpios in Rija Chika Lagna, Saturn will be in the 5th house. The important themes are children, creativity, love, and intellect. Therefore, challenges will come to you through delays in pregnancy, difficulties in conception, if we are talking about women and men too, difficulties in love, intellectual burdens. Therefore, I recommend that you consciously take the upbringing of children very seriously. Children will demand wisdom from you. In love, more maturity and less drama. Possibly a change of interest, a deepening in spiritual knowledge. Create new things but without haste. I also recommend showing Saturnian patience in matters of investments and financial risks. Rising Lagna, Te Kanu Lagna, rising Sagittarius. You will have Saturn in the 4th house. Important themes are home, mother, and inner stability. Therefore, challenges may come to you through discomfort in the family, tense relationships with your mother, or issues with real estate. Therefore, I recommend investing in home improvements, but without incurring debt. Work with internal blocks. Practice cleansing the mind, especially working with the mother archetype. Both your own mother and the archetype of the great mother goddess. And it is no secret that after the eclipse corridor, Navaratri will follow. A festival associated with the mother goddess Durga. 9 days of Navaratri, 9 nights. Each night we will work with one of Durga's archetypes. We have a course called The Greatness of Mother Durga. It is available online as a recording and you can purchase it. To enhance the archetype of the great Mother Goddess and fill yourself with Vedic knowledge and wisdom related to the great divine origin through the Mother, the Divine Mother. Next, also, respect for women, for the Mother, resolving old conflicts. It will be good for you to do so. A move or change of residence is possible. And try to take more care of your emotional state. This is also a theme of the fourth house. And for those who are not aware, let me remind you that the fourth house is the house of moksha, foundation. The fourth, eighth, 12th house, these are the houses of moksha, liberation. Houses associated with the element of water, first and foremost. So keep in mind, my dear ones, for those who have trouble understanding, yes, their natal chart, understanding their purpose, where to move next, you can. Write to us on Telegram and sign up for a Vedic astrology consultation. Jyotish, and I will provide you with a detailed, structured, and powerful Saturnian analysis. Everything will be laid out clearly, with specifics on what to do, where to go, and what your current planetary period is, what nakshatras you have, what degrees the planets are at, and so on, what aspects there are, and much, much more. To the extent that I even analyze divisional charts, yogas, planets, that is a very clear, structured, and deep analysis. So keep that in mind. Next, the rising Capricorns. Makara Lagna. You have Saturn in the third house. Important themes for you will be courage, initiative, and siblings. Challenges will come through slow progress in matters, the need for perseverance, possible conflicts with younger siblings, recommendations, gradual but confident progress forward. Keep working hard. Don't abandon tasks due to initial difficulties. Learn to interact properly with relatives and develop your speech through skills. And hone your presentation skills, also an important topic. And if according to karma someone faces challenges, they are related to the third house. This is the area of the hands, arms, shoulders, throat, so take care of these parts. Next, ascendant Aquarius cum Lagna. Saturn will be in your second house. Important topics are finances, speech, nutrition. These are indicators of the second house. Challenges through financial discipline, strictness with money, limitation in pleasures, and so on. And recommendations. Learn discipline in financial matters. Proper speech, yes, develop it. Do not gossip, do not lie, do not deceive. And control your diet, meaning conscious, preferably vegetarian dietary nutrition. This is very important for your health. Well, and the ascending fish? Meena Lagna, Saturn will be in the first house. Important themes are personality, responsibility, maturity, challenges through fatigue, possibly depression, identity crisis, who am I, why am I, and so on. Recommendations. Work on yourself, physical, spiritual, mental work. Again, the theme of working with the subconscious, using the neopsy method, which I developed, is also very good. It will help you. Further, the rejection of infantilism, of childish consciousness, of childish models, of reaction and behavior. Establishing boundaries and realizing your strength is also very important. And, of course, ascetic practices and self-discipline will also help you greatly. These are my recommendations, dear friends. You can find even more benefits on our Telegram channel wisdom.vet, as well as in our closed Telegram channel Dharma 108, where we have many educational courses, programs, and so on. With this, I conclude my message, and I remind you that on April 21st we have a retreat on the island of Bali, which you can join. We still have a few spots available, and also from March 14th to March 29th, our mystery marathon begins. I will be conducting it, called the Eclipse Corridor, where we will engage in powerful practices to heal the mind from negativity and destructive programs. We will work with ancestral lineage and so on. With this, I conclude. I sincerely wish you, your families, your relatives and loved ones, your children, well-being, prosperity, and success in your endeavors and business. Use the knowledge I have imparted to you for good, and may wisdom always be with you. The patronage of Saturn will help you develop all the benefits you have in the spiritual material world and preserve the light that undoubtedly resides in each of you. I embrace you and see you very soon.